Hello?
Hello.
Okay. Nice to be a second to meet this person.
Yeah, no problem. I can mostly hear you. So here's the game that we are playing right now, and I'll go ahead and get it unzipped.
Okay,
Extract
sounds good.
files. Hello.
Hello, hello?
Yes, hello.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I'm calling from my phone here, so it
Okay,
might be a little naughty.
that's totally fine. So I'll go ahead and start running the game here. Is there anything that I should know about it before I begin?
No, not really. Let's go for it.
Okay, so it's just a. It's going to. Oh, my software is recognizing these library files, but those are not GameMaker library files.
But,
They just have the .lib file extension. So, all right.
uh, the way the library works, the .dll is for Windows, the .lib is for...
Oh, .lib. There's a program that I use. My game making software is called GameMaker, and it has the ability to edit .lib files that it uses for its own purposes. So that's why it's recognizing these as a little red ball, is because I have a program that if I double click on it, it'll fail to open. But
Sorry,
this
could you
is the
give me...
program.
Sorry. Just one second. How do you mute on the Twitch app?
Sorry?
How do you mute the stream on the Twitch app? Because it's created... Mute the stream on the Twitch app. We're creating some
I
really difficult stuff.
don't know how to mute it on the app.
Okay, so I'll try walking through the website. One second.
All right. Okay, so it's just a okay, it's a
Sorry.
puzzle shuffling puzzle game.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got the image of the Redeemer here, and so here is what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so that I'm gonna move the pieces over to the correct sides. What inspired you to make this game for the Jam?
Actually, I had some difficulty with this game. I usually think in terms of platformers with this stuff, but actually, what inspired me was that my mom had just done a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle or something like that a few days ago,
Wow.
and I realized that it fit really, really well, just conceptually.
Nice. All right. What was your development process like for this game? Hello? Hello? Sam, you're a sucker for jigsaw puzzles? Tristan Rigi, thank you so much for the follow. If I ever mispronounce your names, please feel free to use that little channel redeem rewards to give me a suggestion on how to pronounce it, and also if you have any preferred pronouns. Otherwise, I try to default to just using they. Okay, I can just barely hear you now. Maybe?
Oh, hello?
Hello, yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. Is this working?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. No problem. I'm calling from a phone.
Yeah,
It's a little bit tough because I'm not at my house right now.
I see. I was just asking if you could tell us a little bit about your development process for the game.
Yeah. Oh, like the development process?
Mhm.
So basically what it was, on the first day I did very little. On the first day, basically I just made the texture partitions. And on the second day I made the entire game. It was not very well distributed time-wise, but it was also not that time-intensive, so it ended up working out. Really the main thing for me was trying to find images which were of appropriate difficulty. Because for this one, just most images are way too hard to do as first or even second, really. So it took quite a while to find images that were easy enough. for the first two.
Okay. And are these just like, where did these photos come from?
The first one is just an image I made for. I was doing something in regard to or in relation to Brazil a while ago, and so I just made this image as a promotional image.
Mhm.
It's not super historically relevant. The second one is a propaganda poster. It's a USSR propaganda poster about like the cosmonauts. It's a poster of Yuri. And then the third one is a famous picture of John Brown.
Okay, nice.
So they're mostly historical.
Sounds good. All right. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what kind of game engine is this made in?
I didn't use a game engine actually. I used Raylib, which is a game work. Really, all you get here is you get rendering, textures, so like uploading images to the GPU, and input handling and audio.
All right.
So
nice.
it's
So did you say it's called Raylib?
yeah, Raylib.
Okay, neat. I've heard of it before.
Oh, you've heard of it before?
No, sorry, I was saying I haven't heard of it before. But is
see.
there a reason that you're using that as opposed to, I don't know, like what is your preference for using that engine or framework rather than an engine?
Originally, I had started with Godot, but the way I got into game development, I don't know if this is super common, but I did programming first. I've been doing programming for about 8 years now, and I got into game development very recently. And so using an engine, it felt a little bit strange because I've never really liked, working on this kind of API, and I feel like a lot of it is not, at least with Godot, I feel like it's not really designed for people who know programming too well. A lot of stuff was a little more cumbersome or a little bit more unintuitive than I felt it would be if I had made it myself. And so when I switched to Raylib, it was a lot more simple and it was a lot more programmery.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I guess like I'm not a hardcore programmer myself, so I appreciate a lot of the conveniences that engines like Unity and Godot afford. So that's why I sort of stick with using an engine, and same with GameMaker, like it's just meant to make things easier. All right, I completed one.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you're pretty much almost there. Yeah, I actually agree. Engines make it a lot easier to do things a lot faster as well. But ultimately, I do it for fun, and I prefer writing my own stuff. And also, there's certain genres. I think this game would have been much harder for me to make in Godot, just because figuring out how everything worked would have been really painful. Whereas something like Raylib, where it's all super simple, I take one look at one function, the parameters, and I know exactly what to do. But certain things like a platformer would be way harder for me to write from scratch because things like collisions, efficiently checking, and all of that, it would just be more pain than maybe it's worth. So it really depends. I think it's situational. Which
yeah, absolutely. Like that's the whole point, is that the game engines are meant to be tools. So if the tool is getting in the way of your creation process, then it absolutely makes sense to use something like Raylib instead. But as Legrand is pointing out, depends on what you're building. Yeah, same point is being made there. Something like this can be done in HTML elements. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you could actually do this using HTML, CSS. Yes, I don't know how you'd go about that, but it's definitely possible.
Okay, I definitely need these previews of the image as a guide to what I'm making, but I'll see if I can get through either one of these while we continue to...
There's one trick for this one, which will make it a lot easier, actually. I don't know if I should say it.
No, don't worry about it. I'm going to admit a personal bias here, and that's that I don't do puzzles. I prefer to play games that either have active systems to be solved. I'm not even too, like, I'm into certain puzzle games, popular ones like Portal. But in general, I avoid things like Sudoku or anything that just feels like, well, it's not actually hard, it's just a matter of time until I solve this. So it's... Actually,
I feel like I'm in a similar boat to you. Because I don't really like physical jigsaw puzzles so much, especially those with like 1,000 or like 500 pieces. It's just too much for me. But I don't know. Somehow I enjoy playing this. Idle puzzle games. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
Wait, can you swap
Just
any two
ones
pieces?
that are less active.
Okay, I'm just realizing now that you can swap any two pieces. I've just been swapping adjacent pieces this whole time.
Oh yeah, that would make it a lot harder. You can swap any two. I thought of doing the adjacent piece mechanic, but I thought that would just sort of get in the way of like the core puzzle. So
Yeah, it turns out I've been playing on hard mode this whole time.
yeah,
You gotta love the Russian word for cosmonaut. Sounds like when you think about it, it makes much more sense than astronaut.
yeah, it kind of does, but it's different roots, I think.
Yeah, it is. Well, absolutely. Like astronaut implies an exploration of the stars, where cosmo implies an exploration of the cosmos.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's we are not at the point as a species yet where we are exploring other stars. It's more that we are exploring the cosmos. So I think that yeah, I don't know. I think it's neat.
Yeah, and the word has a better ring to it, in my opinion. Maybe it's because it's less used, but it just has a better ring.
Yeah. All right. Sam.
By the way, the for this image is the borders.
Okay. Yeah, I do see it now that you mention it. Sam's mentioning that I used to sit down and play tabletop sim for hours, chatting with people while we chipped away at 1,000-piece puzzles. Yeah, see, if you make a social activity out of it, I totally get it. Like, I know that most people have talked about the fact that they will like love to sit down and like put together a huge puzzle over the course of a weekend with their significant other. Like that's just how they spend some time together. I'm lucky enough to have a partner where we can actually play legit video games together. Even though we have very different tastes, and it's still a challenge for us to find games that we like to play together. But more often than not, we can. Um, yeah, Sketchy
Do you
Jesse,
have
I
any
completely agree.
by the way?
Oh, sorry.
Do you have any recommendations?
Oh, for games to play together?
Yeah, with other people.
Um,
Not necessarily significant other, just other like friends.
yeah, of course. I mean, oh, I'd have to think about that. It really depends on like what programs, what software you have available to you. Like, if you have consoles, then like a lot of Nintendo games work really well. Um, you know, the great thing about a lot of the recent Mario like 3D games is that they have the so-called like co-star mode, so that even somebody who is not very game literate can like play along with you. Um, yeah, I'd
Right.
really
Alex
think more
and
about
Puffy.
that. DeGrand recommends Sea of Thieves. Yeah, I see. Like that implies like everyone having their own device to play on. I don't know. Was your question a little bit more about like couch co-op games or like games to play over the internet?
Over the internet generally, because
Right.
me and my friends play over the internet.
Yeah, I mean, again, it
Good
kind of
actually.
depends on your friend circle. Like, I grew up playing a lot of the Halo games, and I've got some friends for whom we really love playing the Master Chief Collection on Steam right now. So that's kind of our thing. But it really depends
Right.
if you like shooters, you know. Other than that, I've picked up tabletop sim recently, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. But I mean, the neat thing about it is you buy tabletop sim, and then there's just like hundreds of free games that people have recreated, probably borderline illegally in the program.
Yeah. Tabletop sim is interesting.
Yeah. So I guess like when you're playing tabletop sim, it really depends on the how good is the game that you're playing in tabletop sim. And you know, if that's the question, I do have recommendations. But I think we're getting a little off track here, so maybe they'll have to wait. Maybe it'll even be something that I try to do on stream at some point. If we hit that like Saturday Let's Play goal, maybe I'll try to involve chat in playing some tabletop sim games on stream. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, that's the idea actually.
All right, throw your golden leaves at it, everyone. Let's play some tabletop sim together. All right, I just wanted to address the question or not the question, but the very elaborate comment from Tristan in the chat here. Got Unity 3D Space Shooter MMO using Unity's dots, which is kind of like Unreal Engine 5's nanites, to give an idea of when your game is edible for the public, I'll be coming back here to show it off. Awesome. I would love to see it. A shooter MMO using Unity's dots. That is a really elaborate yeah, making an MMO of any kind is an elaborate undertaking. Making a shooter MMO, well, what was that one? Firefall? They tried it. Didn't go super well for them. So I'll be interested to see how that one turns out.
Planetfall, I think.
Anyway.
Thanks.
Sorry?
I think it's called Planetfall, but I'm not sure.
No, I'm very, very specifically thinking of a game called Firefall MMO. It was free for a while. Is it still around? Do they still...
No idea.
Really don't.
Heard of it. They're not really my thing, though.
No, me neither. Firefall, yeah, it got shut down. It got a lot of like very fancy CG trailers, and then was just kind of okay. This was their Red 5 Studios. So yeah, I'm not crazy. The game was called Firefall, but anyway, let me open up your puzzle game once again, and I'll continue on with the questions. And don't forget, in chat, please feel free to submit your own questions. Can you recommend a useful shortcut or clever programming hack that you rely upon?
Okay, I use the Nim programming language, which is a slightly lesser known programming language.
Yeah.
But it's really famous. Yeah, it's an almost unheard of programming language. It's very famous for meta programming, which basically means you write code which will write code by manipulating like syntax tree. And that's super nice because you can get some really advanced functionality that wouldn't normally be very easy to get through functions and stuff. You'd have to like copy paste code and such. You can get that fairly easily just by manipulating syntax dynamically. And it's all at compile time, so there's no like, runtime execution cost or anything like that. That's really nice, but that's not super applicable. I guess for me, the big thing is if you're doing anything related to like algorithms, if you're doing anything algorithmic, it is very helpful to try to plan it out as much as possible before you actually go and write your code, because debugging is a lot harder than getting it right in the first place, because you have to look through so much more when you debug. You have to see if it's right, if it's wrong, why is it right, why is it wrong, how does this impact everything. Whereas if you just scope it out properly the first time, the bugs you'll encounter will be much more minor and probably less architectural in nature.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's tricky, like, what I default to with the use of the Unity engine is I don't actually use the debugger very much. What was the name of the language? It was Nim, right? But how do you spell that?
NIM.
Okay. So yeah, what I was going to say is like Game Maker Studio didn't have a proper debugger for the longest time. So the way that I got used to actually figuring out what went wrong in my code was literally having like message boxes popping up saying like this chunk of code fired, this chunk of code fired, this chunk of code fired. Then it got a proper console which was able to print out debug messages, so I didn't have to have pop-up dialogues. So then I shifted over to having code print out in the console. But even though I've switched over to using Unity as part of my day job, I still never got used to using the debugger. And like, it's useful in some circumstances, and in other circumstances, I honestly find it just easier to have the debug log, like the same methodology that I've been using all along, just to see like, did this chunk of code fire? Did this chunk of code fire?
Honestly, I really should learn how to use GDB, like debugger. It's very important. Commercially especially, it's a very important skill to have, to know how to use GDB/debugger. But I have all my debugging is done through print, and I don't know. I assume this has just caused me way more pain than it's solved. But it's just I know how to do it, and it's what I do.
Yeah, and it's very much the same as what I was just saying. Like that's sometimes you just got to go with what you know, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like in an ideal world, I would sit down and figure out how debugger works. It's probably not that complicated. I just have to do it. But, I mean, the print debugging, it works well enough that I never really have the motivation to figure out how to do it properly.
Yeah, for sure. Nothing wrong with debug prints. So Tristan follows up with a comment. It's going to be a flying in a spaceship shooter similar to EVE Online, but with more combat-focused, no player versus world, and eventually a first/third-person perspective. Okay. Well, I can rightfully say I've never played a MMO game styled after EVE. Well, because I've never played EVE. Putinator, welcome back to the stream. Debugger saved my life during the jam. It's really helpful once you're used to it. I agree. I have used it. The real quick, no pay to win. I appreciate that. Real quick, what I will mention, the debug, the debugger is incredibly useful in Unity if you have a null reference exception. Because what you can do is, if you run the debugger and you break on that line, you can mouse over each thing in the your IDE. If you're using Visual Studio, at least, you can mouse over each component and say, what's null? Because that's the one thing that drives me crazy about the null reference exception, is it doesn't tell you what's null. You have to figure it out for yourself. So I used to use the just like printing out, like, is this null? Is this null? Is this null? Is this null? But like, no. It's so much easier to use the debugger for that.
In Java, the equivalent to null reference exception is null pointer exception. It's more or less the same. And it's really, 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 really bad. And originally, when I wrote Java a few years back, what I would do was write a notepad, and then I would go run it from the command line, which is terrible, because you get these exceptions, and you have absolutely no clue what goes wrong. So at some point, I switched over to IntelliJ, and I was absolutely shocked by the fact that they will tell you this is going to throw an exception. Here's how to... And it's super helpful.
Yeah, any error that can be caught at compile time is so much nicer than one that can be caught at runtime. And that's part of what makes Rust so appealing to me as a language. It's like, that will catch, like, hey, don't do this. You're going to cause a memory leak at some point. Like, you got to be more careful in the way you write your code, but it's going to be such better code. Like, code without garbage collection? Yes, sign me up. I should say code that you don't have to worry about garbage collection, because it's just handled automatically. Everything is doing the handshakes when it's done. Alice comments, mostly use the debugger for finding out what values are where and when in a given situation, especially for null references. Yep. All right, I guess we've gotten on a few tangents during this game, but it's it's so chill. It's a jigsaw puzzle. What do you want? Without a reference, I don't think I'm going to be... Well, I can definitely work towards solving this one, but we do just have a couple questions here. One real question, and then we'll start to wrap things up. So, do you have any plans for this game going forward?
I might add more images. I will... Okay, the hardest thing for me is that I need some way to sort which images or how difficult each image is. And I really don't know how to go about computerizing that, or if it's really even possible to computerize that. I will have to figure something out, I think, if I want to keep this game updated, because just sorting it manually is way too hard. But we'll see about that. And I think after that, probably, or not after that, before that, I need to check. There's some issues where if images have too much of the same color, two squares might end up looking like almost identical, and that's obviously a problem. So that solving for that will probably be much easier. And then the third thing is probably I'd want difficulty settings, so the number of boxes in each image might change dynamically depending on the difficulty, and that should also be fairly straightforward.
Check out this guy dual wielding belts. That threw me off for a second. Anyway, we did actually get a question in the chat from DeGrand asking, did you split the image, or did you write a function that does it?
I write a function that does it. I actually... The image texture itself is not being split anywhere. All that's happening is that different parts of the image are being drawn to the grid. It's much more efficient, actually, which is why I did it like this.
Yeah, nice. That makes total sense.
Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, so... Oh, sorry, DeGrand, I did scroll back up to see your original comment. I knew that I missed it earlier, so... yeah. It's
a two-dimensional array. It's a one-dimensional array, actually.
Yeah,
it's open source. I can send you the link to the source code if you want. I don't know if it'll help you that much, though, because I didn't comment anything. But basically, I store the position... Like, each rectangle is stored as a rectangle on the original image. So like where it starts, the size of each side. And then I basically draw that part of the original image somewhere onto the final grid. And you don't need a two-dimensional array to find the grid because you can take a one-dimensional array because I already know the length and the width, right? So I can just take the one-dimensional array and find out where it would land in 2D space.
Nice. All right, and then let's see. I guess we're sort of wrapping things up here, but do you have any other shout-outs to either people or projects that you'd like to promote?
I would like to reciprocate the shout out made by Kaisar Augustus 31 to me, the creator of Path. He shouted me out. I would like to re-shout him out. Kaisar Augustus 31 on Twitch. I don't think he streams. He's Honorius on Itch, and Jonas Brownus somewhere. I think on Leechess he's Jonas Brownus. I don't really know. He has a bunch of different names, but I'd like to shout him out. We were on call and we were just talking throughout pretty much the entirety of this jam. And so it was really fun. I didn't work with him, but it was fun talking with him. He's a good friend of mine.
Nice. I'm glad that you could have that experience. It's, it's not, it's never quite the same as actually being together with someone, but it's definitely a cool experience that is allowed by our modern age. So.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the stream here. I'm glad that this could work out. This music's super chill, by the way. Where's this from?
There's a guy named Antti Luode who makes music for a YouTube channel. He makes royalty for music, and the YouTube channel I like a lot, Sebastian Lag. He uses it a lot. I think he's a Finnish guy because his first name is Antti. His name is Antti Luode. I think he's Finnish, but I don't really know. But I used his music to make really chill, nice royalty free music.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the stream here. I couldn't quite finish the last one, but
last one was really, really, really tough. So don't feel bad. I made this with the expectation that everybody would finish number one. Yeah. Most people would finish number two, or maybe like half of people would finish number two, and nobody finished number three. So far, I think only 3 or 4 people have.
Fair enough. Well, I'll go ahead and bookmark this so that I can rate it later, and I'll drop the link in chat once more. But yeah, so thanks a lot, and if you do have any other projects that you'd like to send my way in future, or please feel free to drop them in the Discord, and then other users can also comment, and hopefully we can get a little conversation going there.
Absolutely, sounds great. I love this format, I love this idea, and I'm really happy that you're going to contribute with it.
Alright, sounds good. Hope to see you in a future stream.
See you. Bye. Okay.
Oh, I cut you off early, I'm sorry. I assume you're about to say have a good night, and good night to you as well. Alright, so... next up. Okay, so that was our queued up game. This game we've already played. Let me just make sure that I bookmark it. And then the very next queued up game is going to be this one, but just in between we're going to take another game from chat. Might end up being this game after all. So, make sure that if you are here in chat and you'd like to get your game played, first of all, make sure that it's submitted to the Discord using the !submit. That'll give you the invitation to post it to the Submit to Stream channel. And second of all, make sure that you post a comment. Your game was not played if you weren't here, you would know. I am only playing games from people who are either present in chat or able to call on Discord. So, with that being said, yeah, if anyone who wants to get their game played can leave some kind of comment, say hi, say hello, say !me, say whatever you want, use an emote. Go ahead. Tautara, thank you so much for participating, and thanks again for submitting your game. Hello, Putinator. It's very funny. I can't, there's the Cheesy Taco, hello. Zero Iguana with the !me. There's an absolutely ridiculous Photoshop of someone who's taken Vladimir Putin and made like the rootin' tootin' Vladimir Putin. Like, I don't know. There's a surprising number of memes made of the leader of that country, which is it's like, how often do I stream? I stream this week because of the GMTK jam. I am going far overboard and streaming constantly. My regular stream schedule is actually listed in the Twitch. It is between... oh, you're the Canadian Poutine. Okay. So it's more like Poutinator. Poutinator, not Putin. Second most memeable world leader after who, I wonder. Do they like building walls? I wonder, maybe? Not a world leader anymore. No comment. No comment about political allegiances. You just got to admit there were lots of memes to be made there. Ooh, Kim Jong-un is more memeable. Interesting. Anyway, wow, we are getting so sidetracked with all this. But guess what? We're going to go ahead and pick a winner because there's a whole bunch of comments being made. And we're going to see. The winner is Poutinator. All right, so your game is going to be played up next on the stream. I believe you would have already submitted yours. There it is in the chat. Sorry, I got sidetracked again. My answer is that I stream every week between 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. GMT. The schedule is listed in the like on the channel. But just because of the GMTK Jam this week, I'm streaming kind of sporadically, nonstop. I'm streaming right up until the submission deadline. So everyone who's gonna get their game played on the stream is gonna get their game rated. Because I know that's what means a lot to people, is getting their game rated. So we are playing this game by Poutinator. And let me see, are you up for a call? Let's find out. I'm seeing a lot of games about wires. I'm seeing a lot of games about slimes. I'm seeing a lot of games, so many games involving hinge joints. Excellent. So I will initiate a call shortly, but I just want to acknowledge some of the crazy stuff going on in chat here. Maybe War Leader. Middle name is genuinely Vladimirovich, which is incredible. Okay, a friend named Alexander Alexandrov. We used to call him Alex Squared in high school. That's a cool nickname. Anytime you have an opportunity to get a mathematical symbol in your name, that's pretty cool, I think, at least, Sam. Alright. So, we are going to go ahead and play this game here. I'll go ahead and drop the link in chat. And Wired Wires. Weird Wires. I was definitely misread that. My brain transposed the R and the E. Nothing to download? Okay, so movement, WASD, click on a robot to control it, use it, Q and E to swap between them, alright. Oh, we got a nice little quasi-isometric look going here. But not quasi, it is an isometric look. Zero Guana, the trick is to talk politics without talking politics, programmer move. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not going to make any comments about what people should believe. Like, if you're genuinely curious, I'll tell you that, you know, which way that I lean on the political spectrum, but, you know, I don't think it's my place to dictate how other people should, you know, who they support. It's entirely up to them. Any game that's submitted to me so far that's exceeded my expectations, I have a soft spot for Zach E's game, which is Side by Size. This one was a lot of fun. It's just a very simple, very well-built puzzle game. This was my experience playing his game last year as well. It's just his level design informs the... You still feel really clever for figuring out what the puzzle, but really it's just because he's a super clever puzzle designer and he's built the levels in such a way that you totally get the mechanics as you're going through. So yeah, there you go. You get a bonus plug to check that game out. It's such a small and simple game, and there've been tons of other like more elaborate games that I've played and had the opportunity to interview people on the stream, but that one just has a, like I said, got a soft spot for that one. But yeah, so just before we move on, I'm going to take a moment to ask that if you are enjoying the stream, and you think that you know somebody else who would like this format, if you know someone who wants to get their game rated on the stream, or if you just know someone who has a long-term project that they're working on next week once all the GMTK Jam games die down, then I'll be moving back to the regular stream format of just hanging out and talking with game designers and helping them on their projects. So if you know someone who's like that, then please take a second to reach out to them, send them the link, tell them a little bit about why you think they'll like the stream. It really helps the channel grow. It's so much more effective than just making random posts to social media to just reach out to one person and make that legitimate human connection. So I would genuinely appreciate that if you could do so. And Cheesy Taco 101, thank you so much for the follow. All right, so WASD controls Q&E to swap between robots, connecting light bulbs of the same color. We're going to go ahead and not keep Poutinator waiting any longer. We're going to initiate a call. And yeah, here we go. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the stream.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So do you prefer the... How do you say your username?
Poutinator.
Poutinator, okay.
I'm my native language is French, so pronounce the French one. Not sure.
Oh yeah, okay. So
it's
yeah,
easy
you do pronounce it poutine, not.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, here it is so painful here to when people pronounce it poutine. Like, no, it's not how you say it.
I'm from the city that supposedly created the poutine also, so I like that. I like my username for that.
Nice. All right. So I'll go ahead. Is there anything else I should know about the game before I get started?
Maybe just I know the control are hard to get used to. We are already planning to make them simpler, but don't worry if you have difficulties with the WASD.
Okay.
You can click on the robot if you don't want to swap between them with the Q and E also.
Yeah. Okay, good to know that you can also click on them. First thing you're mentioning uses paint.net. Yeah, no, you're not the only one. I use GameMaker's own internal image editor for my artwork as well as Photoshop. Actually, that is going to lead me right into my first question, which is, what did you use to create the visuals in this game?
It's my brother that made the visuals. I'm pretty sure he used the Blender.
Nice. So are these images pre-rendered?
No, it's just an orthographic camera in Unity.
Nice. Okay.
Or 3D mesh.
Because just with the fact that there's the very minimal animation, it totally looks like the style of old pre-rendered 3D games. Is that what you're going for?
Not necessarily. I let my brother handle all the visual stuff, and I think it looked very great. I'm not sure if it was intended or just because we didn't have a lot of time, it ended up looking like that.
All right. Well, I think it looks pretty neat. All right. One thing I'm going to already recommend to you is the same thing that I recommended to another user on the stream just a little earlier. It would be really nice if there was a single button you could press that made the robot retract along its board.
Yeah, I thought about that after having submitted the game too. It's on the plan. We have already a list of mechanics we want to add, and we want to make the robot easier to control. That's the first thing I did. So I got used to the way the robot moved, and I forgot that it was really not intuitive. And I didn't have enough time to correct that.
Mm-hmm. I see. We've got a question from Code Matt Xor, or is it Code Matt Maxor? Sorry, your username is throwing me for a bit of a loop. Who wrote the grid? Okay, Zor. Okay, so Code Matt Zor. Who wrote the grid-based movement system?
I did. I wrote it for another project, and I just reused it. I was already planning to make myself like a kind of library of little tools, like a grid system. I had to upgrade it a bit for the game, like to add 2 layers, one for the ground and one for the robot and the other entities. But I wrote it myself.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Code Matzor says, nice work.
Thank you.
Zeriguana, what is the context for this feature haunts me in my dreams? Is it the conversation that's having about paint.net, or I don't think so. All right, well, we'll continue on with our regular set of questions then, and don't forget you can always submit your own in the chat. So, how did you decide on what you were going to make for the jam?
I was trying to make because the team is joined together, I wanted the connection between the two things to be important for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the idea I had was that it's two characters connected by a wire or a chain,
mm-hmm.
but that the wire would be an obstacle. So I wanted the link between the character to be get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would be nice in a puzzle that you have to play around your own wires or a chain. That was the basic idea in the game.
Nice. I love that you really played into the idea that the electrical socket looks like a face.
Yeah, that was my brother's idea. At first I wanted to make like a jack plug,
mm-hmm.
but his idea was way better.
Oh, Cheesy Taco, thank you for the comment. Is there any background music coming from the game, or did I just have the stream background?
Yes, it's
okay.
They're supposed to be.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, for some reason that wasn't actually coming clear in my phones, but yes, I agree. Code Matzor, the face is really cute. I have your Discord boosted quite a bit. Is there any way that you can hold the microphone closer, or? I think it's okay. Let me know in chat if this is better now that I reduced the background music coming from my stream. I should have turned that off earlier.
You hear me better now?
Yeah, if we can get a reply from the chat, that would be great. Tile may. Oh, I see. You're the Zeriguana. You wanted to implement a tile map-based movement system, and it was haunting your dreams. And yeah, it's good now. You can hear both of us. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. All right. Usually not the best process in most engines. The process for this one might be interesting. Does your engine... well, yeah, Unity does come with a grid.
Really? I'm not pretty sure. I think maybe I didn't look hard enough, but I just made one myself.
Oh, well, okay. That's excellent. Not everyone has the ability to just roll their own grid-based movement system. Like, I guess it's not like the hardest thing ever. But are you doing like, are you assigning grid cells a position that is either like occupied, unoccupied, or are you doing like physics checks to see if a space is empty?
No, I did and I think it's a dictionary of the vector of position and entity that are in those positions.
I think I've played like 4 games on the stream that have this kind of like grid-based motion, and you're the first person to actually say that you did it the right way by using a lookup table like that. Maybe
I was not sure if this was a good idea at first, but I think I like that you can make an infinitely big grid without using too much memory.
Yeah.
That was one of the ideas, because I wanted to make my first idea why I made the grid.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted an infinite grid, so that was my motivation when I made it first.
Yeah, nice. I think that is, I think it's the right way to do it, at least. Tristan is commenting, you can go further with the face plugs, make it more comical, and you can give them cute eyes with a smile, whatever interesting gesture, and when they smash their faces into the socket, some funny animations could happen as a result. Just an idea to add more character to the plugs themselves.
That's a good idea.
absolutely.
There was more animation at some point, but they were too buggy. Like the robots are supposed to jump when you select them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they were getting offset beside the grid, and some weird stuff were happening. So instead of debugging it, I just removed it because I didn't have time
Yeah,
at that
it's
point.
a game jam. That's what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that you've got the cute little like chirps from them when you when they update when you click on them.
Yeah, I made them right before going to sleep Saturday.
Nice. It's just again definitely like contributes to their feeling of personality. So, um, oh yeah, I was thinking about that. Like if you wanted to focus more on the personality of the little robots, then you could actually have the camera zoom in on them to see a little bit better. Oh, and we've got a comment from Cheesy Taco saying that the music is very nice and asking, how did you compose it?
The music was made before the jam. I use Cubase to make my music.
Cubase. Yeah.
I wanted this music specifically was for a Factorio mod I was trying to make. I wanted to add the music. Finally, I never did the mod. And I think it was 20 minutes before submitting, I realized that there was no music, and I looked in the music I had already made, and I picked this one.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those features that is like the game feels better for it, but you might catch yourself a little off guard if you don't have time to add it in. Like, it isn't always trivial to add in music to your game, so...
No. But at least I'm happy I have been able to do the other sound effects were made during the jam. But I pretty much just plugged my keyboard and smashed keys on the... I'm not sure how to see the musical terms in English, but they were made pretty quickly.
Nice. I'm sorry, I realized for anyone watching on stream tearing their hair out, I've hit the point where the percentage of brain power that I dedicate to actually playing the game versus keeping an eye on chat versus listening to the person that I'm interviewing is now insufficient to properly solve this puzzle. But that is why you are here. That is why are you here to watch me play the game, or are you here to hear me talk to the host? So you can always play the game yourselves, and I'm sure you'll have a good time. And this way, I'm not spoiling it for you, am I? That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, so I will move on to our next question here, which is actually coming in from the chat. The textures, are those materials rendered objects? Well, yeah, these are actually 3D models. They're not sprites. But are the things on here, like the robots... I assuming you are swapping out the material on the different color tinted.
Yeah, I made a little script to with a list of color, and they all have a kind of ID to say to match the robot of the same color, and I put a list of which material to change the color, and when they're loaded, the color are assigned. The only thing that have a texture are the ground and the walls. Everything else is just a material I made entirely in Unity.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, everything else is just so simple. Like, if we look at our little robot guy here, it's just flat colors with shading, so it doesn't actually need any texture on it. It's just yeah, it does evoke this sort of like early days 3Ds flat pre-rendered 3D model look. So I think it's really cool for that. DeGrand, I appreciate you saying that you're impressed by my multitasking skill. I wish I was better at it, but I think it would be really cool if by level 20 of this game we're seeing a full-on Raspberry Pi board. It would be a fun Easter egg if you made this resemble some like famous chipset.
I could try, but I'm not sure if there's enough space. The camera would have to be so far away we couldn't see anything.
Yeah. Did you consider making it possible to like pan the camera around, zoom in and out?
Yes, I thought about making the camera follow which robot you are moving, but by that time we're making level, and then I realized that sometimes I didn't have enough space. It was too late to add that kind of feature. At the end, we were just trying to make as much level as possible, but we still just managed to make 9 level, I think, and some of them are just a tutorial. I think this one is pretty much the first non-tutorial level, maybe. I'm not even sure in what order we put the levels, but I lost my train of thought.
Now you know how I feel. That happens to me all the time when I'm, well... does the static camera defeat the purpose to make this a 3D game compared to 2D? I don't know. I mean, it would be objectively harder to make this game using 2D sprites than 3D models, I think. It depends on your level of experience. Like, if you have experience making 3D games, I can imagine this, well, you made it in the context of a game jam. If you were making this with 2D sprites, you know, you'd still be able to tint, like color tint the sprites to mess with that, but I am personally of the belief that, depending on your skill set, you could probably knock this out faster using actually 3D models than pre-rendering 2D stuff.
Yeah, I'm more used to 3D games, and my brother is a 3D artist, so it was just quicker to just make it in 3D, and I didn't have any think about making it a 2D game. Could have been done, but I just made it in 3D without thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh, and like DeGrand, you're commenting about how shaders can be used to retint the colors. Yeah, of course. I do color tinting on 2D stuff all the time. I'm just saying that I think that it would still be easier to have 3D models for the rotations and everything. Like there would be a lot of sprites you'd have to export. Well, I guess each robot is only facing one of 4 directions.
Yeah, but there's also robot, like the robot you're selecting is emitting light. It's easier with it in 3D, and we plan to add more animations and more mechanics. That
exactly.
It'd be harder to manage the shadows and stuff like that. If it was just a 2D game.
And DeGrand, you're saying that you could flip the 2 faces. Technically you could, but the shading would look wrong. Because the cast shadow is different. Like if I click on this guy facing this way versus this way, you can see the shading on the face is actually different. So it is actually a unique sprite for facing one direction versus the other. Slightly. It probably wouldn't be too noticeable. Like this face, I guess it's more noticeable when the face is in shadow like this, because there is... If a robot is facing this way, then the lighting looks one way versus if they're facing this way, another. So you would probably render unique images for each of the different facing directions. Anyway, do you have a particularly useful shortcut or clever hack in this engine that you think would be useful to others?
Something I found really useful during the jam is iTween. It's a free asset on the Unity store. It's every animation is made with that, like when the level transition and everything. I just say put the camera there and X amount of time, and it does the smooth transition, and it saves a lot of time. And just generally look for free stuff for the simple stuff. If you can have a lot of quick tools to use for the simple things, it's a good idea to make your game quickly.
Yeah, I completely agree. So did you like lowercase I tween?
I think, yes.
I think I've probably seen that same asset. I've got my own tween system that I wrote because it behaves in a particular way that I like.
Yeah,
because of course every programmer just writes their own tools for things.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote my grid system. There are probably a ton of already existing, but sometimes it's fun to just create your own stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what you want it to do, so Okay, I thought this level was going to be much harder than it was, but it was just...
Yeah, it's supposed to be harder. It's made from a sketch my brother sent me, and I didn't implement it correctly. So the
Oh, I
level
see.
is easy. It should be.
Yeah, so that was actually a question that Zero Iguana had asked. Were the puzzles made on the go, or did you sketch them beforehand? So, was it...
The tutorials level were made on the go. The other one I made with a sketch, and I had my brother that made the art, and another brother that were sending me sketches of level during the last hour because I didn't have really much time to think about the level idea.
Nice. So it was made by the three of you then?
No, the one of you can say that one level is made by one brother, but it is his only contribution to the game.
Okay, so it's small contribution, mostly you and the... This is mostly a two-person team with a tiny contribution from like one level made by one other person.
Yeah, he could say that.
Okay, that's totally fair. So interesting. What is the link being shared in chat here? Lighting with 2D normal maps. Neat.
Oh yeah, that's something that's a technique that always seemed interesting, but I never used it. Like shading on 2D, right?
Yeah, I think Unity has some pretty good support for this now as well, but this is specifically in reference to Godot, I believe. Yeah, this is all done within the Godot engine. I just don't have any experience with Godot. But yeah, so I think that level we were pretty lucky how easy it was, but this is the level I'm predicting I'm not going to be able to complete. But anyway, we are going to I'm going to call it now, and we're going to say that we're going to play this game, and then we're going to play the one other game that was queued up afterwards by Sketchy Jesse, because it's getting late here, and I know I'm going to have to call it soon. So that being said, do you have any plans for this game going forward?
Yeah, we're not sure if we want to make it a mobile game or maybe release it on Steam. We're not sure yet, but like I said earlier, we have a list of mechanics and idea we want to add to the game, and we're going to make a full release, but we're not sure exactly on which platform, and yeah, that's it.
Sure. So one thing I would have to recommend, of course, it's obligatory for me to mention this, but if you're dealing with colored robots, then you've got to find some way of making the symbols it's
for colorblind.
Exactly. Like it's great that any robot can connect to any other robot, because you don't have to do any design work changes on the robot itself. You just need to modify the design of the plugs.
Yeah, I thought about it. That's why two of the color are blue and orange, because I know it's the two easiest for colorblind.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought about it. It's on my list to have probably letters on the plugs to make it easier for colorblind people.
Letters, symbols, just anything. Yeah, I'm glad that you took into consideration that like red-green colorblindness is the most common. But yeah, it's always good. And one thing that I always say is that if you add that level of accessibility to the game, then it often ends up contributing to the overall design look of it. Like you can make the colorblind mode. You don't have to make it a toggle setting that just pastes a simple Text Mesh Pro letter over top of the plug. You can actually change the physical look of the plug, or maybe the physical look of the light bulb. Like maybe some of these are incandescent light bulbs and other ones of them are compact fluorescent. You know, you could make them look physically different, and then you don't even have to think about turning colorblind mode on or off.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Probably do something like that. So.
Evil Eye Interactive. I'm always. It's the reason that it's so easy for me to call it out. Like, it's always something that I mention whenever I see like this could be, and I mention it so often because I have failed to do it properly myself. I have made another game that is a like color spot the differences game on my itch.io page, and it has no consideration for colorblind proof, but it's a free game as well, so it's not like someone would buy it and then complain about not being able to play it because they're colorblind, because you would know from it's free and the screenshots as well. Anyway, well, if you do end up making a post-gen version of the game, I would love to see it. Please feel
Yeah, of
free
course.
to post it in the Blue Screen Productions Discord and ask the other members what they think of it.
All right.
All right. Do you have any people or projects that you'd like to promote or give a shout out to?
Not really, honestly. I didn't have really much time to look into a lot of other projects, but sorry, I don't have really a
that's
shout
all
out
right.
to make.
You know, if you think of something, feel free to post a link in chat and I'll pull it up on the stream.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the stream tonight.
Welcome.
All right, and hopefully we get to talk again soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Good night.
Okay, bye-bye. So I have just once again dropped the link to the game in chat. I had meant to ask how many levels there were in the game, because I guess I made it to like the second or third level past what we consider the tutorial. But yeah, really any time that I'm playing a game, it's I do want to do my best to... Oh, so this is the last level. Okay, so I made it pretty far then. That's further than I necessarily expected. Let me get in touch with Sketchy Jesse and find out if they are up for a call. And otherwise, if they're just up for participating in chat while I try out their game. Excellent, they are. So I will go ahead and queue this up. And I normally like to end things off on a randomly selected game, but no, sorry, Cheesy Taco, it is already quite late. I'm already kind of pushing the upper boundary of how long I should be going on stream. But don't worry, because tomorrow is Saturday. I will be back all day again for another batch of streaming. So whatever time zone you're in, hopefully there's something that works out. And yeah, you're already following the channel, so you'll get notified when I go live. And I also post about it in the Discord. I need to post about that a little further in advance. But if your game is up in the queue, I will send you a message so that you know. And as always, if you are in the chat and you post a comment, then you have a very high chance of being selected for a random role. All right. So the game we are about to play right now is Blob Quest by Sketchy Jesse. And I will go ahead and see. There is a version to download. I'm gonna assume that it's gonna run fine in browser. Web build has some issues in Chrome. No problem. I use Firefox. PC is recommended because it has the least issues. There we go. Let's grab that. And I will go ahead and initiate the Discord call. Cheesy Taco, I appreciate that you like the format. Thank you for saying so. Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the stream.
Thank you.
All right. So is there anything else that I should know about the game before getting started?
Not that I know of, just, of course, like we mentioned on the page, the PC version is better.
Yep, I've gone ahead and downloaded it.
'Cause I think that...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think that's like an issue with Godot, possibly.
Yeah, that happens all the time. I've run into issues where, like, in general, the PC build is more reliable than the web version. For example, in my game, when things get shot and they have a brief period of invincibility, they are supposed to flash red because, stuff flashes red when it's shot. But when I tell it flash red, they flash blue instead. I literally put in the hex color code for red and it comes out blue. Because that's how GameMaker HTML5 just... I cannot convince it otherwise. Hello, JPados, welcome to the stream.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why GameMaker behaves that way, but, I just say, okay, it's the tank's shielding color, whatever. Anyway, so I'll go ahead and get the Windows build version of the game open here, and we can start in with the questions. Chat, don't forget, you can ask your own questions and I will relay them to the guest here. DeGrand is asking about, or mentioning issues in the audio player in Godot. JPados, you can use the exclamation mark submit command, but just keep in mind that this is the last game that I'm playing on stream today, and there's a very, very long queue. But I will tell you right now that if you are in chat tomorrow when I resume streaming and you participate, then you might be eligible to get picked randomly between the scheduled games. So here we go. Mob quest. Whoop! Let's turn that down. All right. And I'll kill the stream background music. Okay, so how did you decide on what you're going to make for the jam?
We quickly basically got on a call like 10 minutes before the theme was announced, and as soon as the theme was announced, we started brainstorming. Mm-hmm. And quickly, I thought of the idea of like fusion, like in Steven Universe, for example. Okay. And we went more with the idea of combining colors. So when you go through a portal, you will turn a certain color, and in later levels, you'll be able to combine colors to become a new color. And that was kind of the basic idea we started with, is getting new abilities by combining into something.
Nice. Oh, okay. So the ending is going past the door here. You're going to be seeing it on a little bit of a stream delay, but here we go. Okay, I think I've got the idea, and this is a slope that I will slide down. All right. So what was your development process for this game?
So, for the most part, we communicated over Discord, and we had a like Google document to make sure everyone kept on track. And then for a lot of the process, we went our separate ways and then joined back together when we needed input or needed to share like files.
Right. And so this was made in Godot, and what was your role on the project? You were the artist.
So, yes, I was the artist. I do actually have Godot on my system, and I know a little bit of how to program in it. So a lot of times while I was making art, I would actually put it in Engine just to test, like, if the FPS is good for the animation, stuff like that, if the animation looks good at all.
Yeah, sounds good. It's always good when everyone on the team knows just a little bit about the other's disciplines. You know, it's I remember working together with an artist who wasn't familiar with the concept of how to create a tile set for a game, and it was really difficult to describe to them how I was supposed to, like, how they had to break up the artwork such that it could be loaded into the game in this kind of quantized form.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was expecting to have to jump clear over this, but there we go. Speed boost. All right. So when you were creating the art, do you want to talk a little about your process for that?
So, one of the things you actually mentioned earlier, or ironically came up because we decided to do the color mixing thing. I immediately thought of how the accessibility issue of color blindness. So every single blob is designed to actually have a shape, and when they fuse, their shapes combine. So you kind of, even if you can't see colors properly, you can still understand the fusion mechanic by just looking at the blob shape.
Yeah, I can totally see that, because you've got the even the little sort of color portals very clearly influence the you've got the regular white blob shape, then you've got the yellow sort of speedy blob, you've got the square high jump blob, and then when the speed and the square combine, they make a nice octagon, and then yeah, you're like reinforcing the design. Okay, and this one can stick to walls because it's spiky. And this is also a great example of just how I think it really lends to the character. Like they're not just changing colors, they're actually changing sprites, and I think it just naturally looks better this way than if it had Yep, come on, up the hill. Up the hill. Maybe I can't go up the hill. There we go. But yeah, so I'm glad that you're able to take that into consideration, and I know that like accessibility features, there's no question that you should have them in your game's release. It's just a question of you don't always have time in the scope of a 48-hour jam.
Yeah, of course.
So, can you recommend a useful shortcut or a clever hack that you use when you're creating the art?
I know Krita is pretty good for creating animations because it's good to have a program that allows you to see like the previous frame and the frame ahead so that you can kind of tell what's going on. Mm-hmm. And an interesting thing I did throughout this jam is if you have similar sprites, you can kind of trace over them. Like multiple of the sprites have the same roll animation, so I traced over that multiple times. So I could create kind of a consistent animation.
Nice, yeah. So it is like an onion skinning built into it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely think that is super useful. I know that whenever I'm animating in a program that doesn't have that support, like GameMaker, I'm usually just flicking back and forth between the images really quickly to see what's changing from one frame to the next.
Yeah.
Sam is asking if Krita does animations now. Used to use it, but it didn't at the time. Is that a feature? Okay, so it's been added in. I see other people in the comments are chiming in. Neat.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of the program Krita before. Okay. So
yeah, it's one of those like free like program.
Neat. All right. Well, I'm always happy to learn about new tools. Okay, yes, Sam, I know that Game Studio 2 has onion skinning. But, you know, I still like the image editor in original OG Game Maker Studio. Anyway, there's some fun conversation going on in the chat here, but I will move on to our next question. Do you have any plans for this game going forward?
So my team does. First of all, from what I've heard, the programmers, Holy Acorn and Pluto, they want to kind of course, polish it up and add more levels. And interestingly, Pluto suggested in our Discord chat cool math games. I don't know if you've heard of that, but since it's a puzzle game technically, he was suggesting that we get it to a state where we can publish it to Cool Math Games, and I think that's a really cool idea.
Nice. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about the fact that they would, like, because it's sort of like educational games. Is that the idea? Or is it just like anything that is puzzle related?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, that sounds great. Do you have any plans to like add any other more block types to the game?
I'm not sure. I'll definitely see what my team wants and be available because I do want to see the future of this game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, if anyone has any questions in the chat, now is the time to ask them. Otherwise, I'll just ask, do you have any shoutouts to other people or projects that you'd like to promote?
So for sure, I have two. So for one, my team, DC Harmony, our sound designer and composer, Pluto and Holy Acorn, our programmers. They helped a ton in making this like at all exist. So it was great to work with them, and I really appreciate what they did for this game. And also, there is a jam that happens every 2 weeks called Mini Jam that I will be participating in, and I highly recommend it.
Nice. All right. Well, If you do end up making something in that jam that you'd like to send my way to be played on the stream, I'd be more than happy to have another conversation just like this.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Especially since I kind of want to get into programming myself more, because I do have a little bit of programming background, but not much, and I want to expand that.
Nice. That sounds great. Evil Eye Interactive, thank you for mentioning. Yeah, I agree. Great job on the animations. I think they've got a lot of personality to them. But other than that, if there's no more questions from chat, then I think we'll sort of wrap things up here. So thank you so much for joining me on the call, and have a good evening.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Talk to you later.
Mm-hmm.
Bye. All right. So that is going to do it for this game. I wonder if this rainbow was the very end of the game, but it is getting quite late here, so as close as I might be, maybe you'll just have to see the wonderful final shape that you turn into if you try out the game for yourself. So that has been Blob Quest by Sketchy Jesse, and thanks again for submitting the game to me. And that is going to pretty much do it for our stream for tonight. So thank you to everybody who's been consistently tuning in. I really appreciate your continued viewership. And yes, time to go indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much, DeGrand. Have a good night, everyone. We're going to find somebody to raid. So if you feel like sticking around, and I'll pick somebody else who is streaming GMTK Jam Games. If anyone were live, okay. No one I follow is live right now. So good night, Putinator, and good night, everyone. If anyone has a channel that they recommend, anyone who is following someone that they want to give a shout out to, let me see, because is It's Boat streaming? I remember seeing. I'm actually not sure if I'm following It's Boats. That might be why I don't see it. Dr. Games? Sure. Take a look. What are they streaming? Okay, perfect. They're also streaming GMTK games. Absolutely. We'll send them. We will send them stream. We'll send them a raid. All right. Oh, starting soon. Perfect. Okay. So yes, good night, everyone. And the only thing that I would ask is that if I played your game on the stream, I would sincerely appreciate if you were to play and rate mine. My game Allocate, which is a Command and Conquer inspired tower defense game. It is pretty tough to play, but yeah, you've got limited power that you need to allocate to fending off enemy tanks. I just lost to the game. 220 is an okay score. Sam has a insanely high score of like 590. I'm glad that you enjoyed what you saw of it so far. But yeah, so if you like tower defense games, please give it a try. I will drop the link in chat real quick to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Yeah, I would appreciate any commentary or feedback that you have on it. And with that, we are going to go ahead and initiate our raid of Little Doctor Games. It looks like their stream's starting like right now, so that could not be better timing. So let's go ahead and initiate a raid, and hope to see you back tomorrow when I resume with streaming. Here we go. Starting the raid. Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye. And raid commencing in 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
The first thing is, do you guys want the good news or the bad news first?